Your quiet is not a lack of depth. I need to start with that because I think a lot of us walk around carrying the opposite idea. It's a fear you don't even realize you have until someone points it out with a tilted head and an uncomfortable pause, making you instantly question your own worth. We live in a world that needs you to be loud. It needs you to have the quick answer, the instant reaction, the big, dramatic opinion on everything, all the time. If you don't have a hot take on something that happened 20 minutes ago, if you don't instantly join the pile-on or contribute a punchy retort, you feel like you are standing still while the rest of life speeds past. And if you're just sitting there, taking it all in, if you're letting the silence stretch out for even a beat too long, you start to feel like you're failing the test. You start to worry that people look at you and just see empty space, a lack of personality, that they think you're boring, or worse, that you have nothing inside to say that could possibly be worth the moment of quiet you instinctively demand. But here is the thing that really gets me, and it's the quiet truth behind the noise. This external pressure to perform depth by being loud is what actually makes us shallow. It forces us to rush the thought before it's fully formed, to choose the loud, safe answer over the small, complicated truth. We learn to deliver the expected response, the easy, surface-level opinion, just to fill the conversational gap. And that rush, that constant mental scrambling to meet the world's volume demands, is exhausting. It strips away your ability to genuinely connect with what you are actually feeling or thinking, because your whole system is focused on external output, on proving you're alive. That's the real insidious cost of forced noise, a deep, profound disconnection from your own authentic self. It's what leaves you feeling perpetually tired even after a day of saying nothing important. I think about how this started for me. It wasn't about being shy, it was just about being full. I felt like if I spoke every single thought that crossed my mind, I'd lose the thought itself in the noise. It would become cheapened, diluted, just another drop in the vast ocean of commentary. I realized early on that my quiet was a kind of protection, a filtering mechanism. It was my mind working. I would listen, really listen, to the things people were saying and, more importantly, the things they weren't saying. The tremor in the voice, the small hesitation, the anxiety hidden behind the big smile. I felt like I was collecting pieces of a puzzle no one else was bothering to look for, and the longer I held on to that quiet, the more I felt the external pressure to break it with something monumental, something worth the wait, something that justified my use of the air. And if I didn't have that monumental thing ready, I'd just stay quiet, and the shame would creep in. It's this weird thing that happens. You stay quiet because you are processing something complicated and layered, dealing with nuance and contradiction, but the world immediately translates that silence as a failure to participate or a lack of intelligence. It's like being a well that has to prove its depth by constantly throwing the water up, muddying the water in the process, when all you really want to do is sit still so the surface can be calm enough to reflect the immense sky above you. Your depth isn't in the splash, it's in the stillness. It's the stillness that allows the sediment to settle. I remember this one time I was at a party, and everyone was talking over each other, telling these wild, exaggerated stories. I was standing near the edge of the room, just watching. I wasn't bored. I was genuinely fascinated by the dynamics, by the silent shifting power structures, the small gestures of approval and disapproval. I was observing an entire ecosystem unfold in real time, but then someone pointed to me from the center of the noise, smiled too brightly and said, "What's wrong? You're so quiet." And the way they said it, it didn't sound like a question, asking for my opinion. It sounded like a diagnosis of some social illness, a deficit that needed to be remedied immediately. Like there was something fundamentally wrong with my default setting, like I was actively breaking a fundamental rule of being a present human being. In that moment, I could feel the heat rising in my face and the frantic scramble in my head. I thought, I have to fix this. I have to prove I belong. I have to sound smart or funny or at least visible. So I scrambled for a loud answer. I gave a nervous, overdone laugh at a joke I barely heard, and I immediately felt this intense physical energy drain, like someone had pulled a plug. I had traded my actual internal world, my rich, quiet observations, for a brief, shaky moment of external approval. I remember driving home that night and feeling a profound sense of exhaustion that went beyond lack of sleep. It was the simple, raw effort of trying to be someone I wasn't for 10 frantic seconds. That's the feeling you need to hold on to. The cost of forced sound. You don't just lose energy, you lose a piece of your authenticity every time you do it. It's not just about the loudness either, it's the pace. We think depth has to look like explosion, like a sudden brilliant flash. We think big ideas must be delivered instantly, like fast food that satisfies for 5 minutes and leaves you hungry again. But your best thoughts, your most honest feelings, they often move slowly. They need gravity and time. They need space to form, to gather their truth, not to be rushed out and pre-polished for immediate social consumption. Sometimes your quiet is the only way you can hear yourself think. Sometimes it's the only way you can hold on to your boundaries in a moment of emotional chaos. Your quiet is a sign that the ground you're standing on is solid, not shaky. It is the ability to choose your words, not just throw them out in a panic. It's a sign of careful observation, of patience, of necessary inner filtering. It is the necessary intentional pause before a true sentence is ever spoken. The people who are truly powerful, the ones who actually make an impact, are often the ones who speak the least. They use their quiet like a lens. I started doing this thing, and it's not really advice, just something I noticed. When I feel that intense old pressure to speak up, I try to remember the difference between having nothing to say and having too much to say to rush it. I've started watching the people who are truly comfortable in their silence. They aren't worried about filling the gaps. They are the ones who, when they finally speak, change the entire temperature of the conversation. They have been collecting the data. They've been listening. Their words have weight because they are rare. There's another strange thing I've noticed, and this is important for your relationships. When you stop rushing to fill the silence, you stop attracting the people who just want to hear themselves talk. You start attracting the people who genuinely value the quiet, the ones who are willing to wait for the genuine thought, the real exchange. Your silence becomes a filter for authenticity. It's a way of saying, if you want what's deep, you have to be patient. And those true, quiet connections are what sustain you. They don't drain you. I think a lot of people feel this way. We're all trying to prove our existence by how much space we take up, how many words we use. But what if your depth is best measured by what you don't rush to say? What if the most courageous thing you can do is let that silence breathe and trust that the right people will see it, not as a lack of engagement, but as a rich stillness, the kind of stillness you feel just before dawn, where everything is waiting, but everything is also already there. You don't have to perform. You are allowed to process, to feel, to simply be present. There's this memory I have from when I was hiking. I stopped by a small, still pool of water tucked into the rocks. It wasn't a loud, crashing waterfall, throwing its energy around for attention. It was perfectly calm, but because the surface was so quiet, I could see right down to the bottom, to the intricate stones and the slow life moving down there. It was rich with life and detail. If I had thrown a single pebble into it, the depth would have instantly vanished beneath the ripples. Your quiet is that pool. It lets you see the bottom of things, and it lets others see the depth you carry. Don't be so eager to throw the pebble. I don't have a big answer. I don't think there is one. I just know that if you feel this way, you're not alone. It's okay to not have the quick answer. It's okay to sit back and observe. Your stillness is not a weakness. It is the quiet power that lets you take in the whole world, filter it, and only give back the truth that has been given the time to fully form. Let yourself be quiet. Let yourself be honest. Let yourself be human. I believe in you. Now believe in yourself.